Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special live edition of the Dan Gheesling podcast. Super excited to bring on a special guest here today. The one, the only, Crendor. What's going on, man?
Not much. I'm just living life, quarantined, having a great time.
So
It's a blast.
I kind of hit people with your Reader's Digest version of what you do online, and then I'm going to hit you with your Reader's Digest version of how I would describe you.
All right. Well, I'm kind of like a caveman of the internet. I've been around since 2009, and I've seen it all happen. I think that's the biggest thing. Is just I like to think that I'm like a veteran of the sports league. I'm like the Kyle Korver.
Okay. Kyle Korver, a.k.a. Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
When you
I've been around a long time, right? I can come in and hit the three, but I've been here like 20 years. People are like, oh, that's Kyle Korver. I know him. Oh, you hit the three. All right, now you can go sit down again. That's kind of like what I do.
So in terms of what people can expect when they tune in to watch your videos or your streams, how would you describe your personality to someone, or what you do, what you create?
I kind of do nothing very well.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you just got to think about it. I do nothing very well. Like, let it sink in.
Okay, so you do a great job of creating things called as non-content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an example of doing nothing well.
Yeah.
Explain non-content to someone that's never seen your non-content.
All right. So back in the day, this is back when Game Station was a thing, right? So it was mainly like Jesse, TB, Dodger, me, like some other people. And at the time, Maker Studios this was before they were Maker Studios. They were still the Game Station. They were like, what if we had Dodger and TB on the show and we did all these things? No, what if they brainstormed all these ideas? Like, what if we had them play this? And I was like, guys, it doesn't matter what they do. That's the whole thing, is that they could eat cereal. You could film them eating cereal. You could film them playing badminton. You could film them literally doing anything, sitting on a couch drinking water, and people will watch because people care more about the personalities than what they're doing. And that was my whole premise behind non-content. And so I started doing that.
Okay. So I think a lot of people can kind of get your vibe right away, but I want to rewind back to, you said, to the caveman times of the internet. So I always like to, when I bring on a guest, I always like to understand how and why you started.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you start doing stuff on the internet?
I started doing stuff on the internet, long before, people really, blew up on the internet. But in 2009, I started making WoW videos because I just like World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm going to make some dumb World of Warcraft videos. And I did. I made one about a gnome and his hard gnome life. I made one about a parody of the Slap Chop guy as a shaman. And they were really bad, really, really bad. But I kind of grew from that. And, I made the unreleased Cataclysm trailer. So that'll date me a bit.
Okay.
And it was in Cataclysm beta. And it kind of blew up because I played the game before, the YouTube game was really invented. Because people go to that, they'd search Cataclysm trailer and they'd be like, what is this unreleased Cataclysm trailer? They click it, and half the comments were like, this isn't from Blizzard. But it got 100,000 views when 100,000 views was great. And so you just kind of snowball from that. And before you knew it,
what was actually on the video if it wasn't a Cataclysm trailer?
Well, it's a machinima thing. So it's just you use World of Warcraft to make a video about it. So it's like a parody video.
Okay.
Right. So it'd be like, in a world, where's that? And then I'd have the Cataclysm stuff going on, and but I'd make fun of the game in it, right? So you're like, you can farm shit for hours and things like that.
So, okay, so you made these, what you considered bad videos, and then the Cataclysm one. When you put those out there and people watched it, were you surprised, or were you just...
Well, the reason I started mainly was because other people were already doing that type of thing. and then they kind of slowed down, and I was like, well, I still really like these types of things, and I was like, I mean, I could just do it. And so I did, because I was like, I think I could do it. So I would make them almost for me in a way.
Mhm.
And then I was like, well, if I like them, other people might like them. And then they did. And I kind of just rode with it. And then I made, more series. I did things like Orc vs. Wild,
Okay.
which was like Man vs. Wild, but it was my character Boar Thrills in the wild in the game. And he would go to like different zones in WoW and survive there. And he'd be like, I'm Boar Thrills, and this is what I'm doing today. And I would just, do that for like 4 minutes.
So, for context, when you made your first videos, roughly what year was that and how old were you? I'm just trying to get like a pinpoint of where you are in the scheme of life.
It was January of 09 when I
Okay.
made my YouTube channel, and I was 19 or 20.
Okay.
I think I was 19.
Were you working? Were you going to school, or were you just like chilling?
I was going to community college.
Or what did you go
And,
to? What did you want to study?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I knew that I didn't know what I wanted to do. And once I found this, I was like, well, I want to do this now. And so that became my thing. I would like sit in my math class just writing my WoW scripts, being like, oh yeah, this is it. This is the good stuff. And I would go, like, I wanted to take a marketing class to learn how to market on YouTube, but it was such a new thing, like the internet, that I just went to the bookstore and I would read marketing books instead
Really?
there, because they'd be like, oh, viral marketing, how did like the new age of the internet. And I'd read shit like that. And I'd be like, wow, this is way better than school. And it's free because I just read the book and put it back. So I just do that.
So,
And it worked.
do you remember anything in particular that you used or that you found interesting that you used from one of those books?
Yeah, there was the I always bring this up on our one podcast I have, but the purple cow,
Okay.
which was, if you're driving down a street and you see a purple cow, everyone's gonna turn and be like, yo, dude, that's a purple cow. But if it's just another cow, nobody gives a shit. Somebody might be like, hey, there's cows, multiple cows, but the purple cow stands out. So it's like, when you stand out for whatever reason, it could be clickbaity, it could be just something different, but you have to stand out in some way.
And so when you read that and it resonated with you, what did you mess with, or what did you start to put out as your like coat of purple paint, or what did you do to like set yourself different, especially back then when just being out there was different?
Yeah, I would say I kind of took what other machinima people were doing and just kind of twisted it with my own personality, because a lot of it was too wacky for me, or a lot of it was too like serious, and so I kind of did more of a like a blend of everything. But I also have a very like dry, deadpan sense of humor, so I would just mix that in. I think it went pretty well. But like for example, another thing I learned just from doing those videos in general was like stereotyping different things. So like I'd be like, oh, this is the go guy, right? You go into a dungeon and there's a guy there and he just keeps yelling like, go, go, let's go, hurry up, let's go, start the pull, start the thing. And so I took that and I kind of, made that character the go guy, and everyone's like, oh, I know a go guy, I love the go guy, blah blah blah. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, these people that are watching this video love to relate to these types of characters that they have like in real life, right? Like, I know that type of guy. And so that taught me that people just like relatability. And really, comedy is just a lot of relatability when you think about it. When somebody's like, don't you hate the type of person does this? And everyone's like, I know that type of person.
See, I always think comedy is the most difficult thing because it's just like being informative is easy. You just relay information. But being comedy is like you have to be. I think it shows a amount of intellect. And so on your end, the Crendor we see online, how on a 100% ratio or 100% scale, how much of that is real life Crendor?
In modern days, it's like 90%.
Okay.
Like I'm not like, and the only 10% left is that I'm not talking as much.
Okay.
That's about it. Like back in the day, I was more, I didn't really know who I was, but I was like 20, 21. No, I feel like nobody really knows. And then you get to 30 and you go through life a bit more and you're just like, whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. And you do this, especially when you do this for like YouTube for like 11 years and I've been streaming on Twitch for 8 years. You just hit a point where you just don't give a shit. When like that people on like all these new streamers, they're just like, I gotta get views, I gotta get I gotta. I'm just like, I'm just gonna play fucking Winnie the Pooh Home Run Derby, and if you want to watch it, you can, and if you don't, you don't have to.
Was there, when you came to that realization, did that affect your content at all? Did it affect how you produce things?
Not really. So
No.
I feel like the audience that I had back then also kind of grew up a bit.
Hmm.
So like whenever I asked my chat, like how old's everybody here? They're all like 25, 28, 30. Like they're all older. So I feel like they've also grown up and they've also matured in a way. And so a lot of people also come to expect what I am because I've been doing this for so long. They're like, oh, that's just Crendor. Right? He's doing his thing. Like when I'd go on podcasts with TB and Jesse and Dodger and all them back in the day, I'd be like the wild card. And so I'd like do weird shit. Like I'd be like, today I bought some snacks I'm gonna eat, and TB'd be like, Crendor, bloody but it was fun.
What,
And he loved it too, deep down.
when
Because he'd always be like, come on back.
so you're like, whatever I'm doing is working and people are enjoying themselves. So when you first started, did you ever like, did you tell people what you did before, like you kind of,
Oh yeah.
because you got a lot of
So
steam and a lot of people know who you are, but when you first started, did you talk about it or did you just kind of keep it under wraps? How did you handle that?
I would hide it for a bit, but once it started growing, then I would tell my parents and be like, yo, like, can I stop like trying to find part-time jobs at like Dick's Sporting Goods and like the grocery store? And they'd be like, all right, well, if you want to try it, go try it.
And
So
then
I was lucky in that aspect that they were very accepting to be like, hey, go try this internet thing. And I remember I worked at a grocery store for 2 days. And then I was like gonna quit, and everyone was like, "You just started working here." So then I was leaving. The security guy there was like, "You're quitting already?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to work on the internet." And he was like, "That's the future." That was 2009 or 2010, I think. So I mean, he was right.
okay.
It was the future.
So taking the advice of security guard, you kind of put your head down. Was there any point? Is your journey like a straight line? Has it always been uptrending? Have you had like peaks and valleys? What's
Oh,
been?
it's a peak and valley. It's like it's spinning around and shit. So I mean, it's a lot of people. I feel like when they first get into this, it starts very like either it starts here and then you go up, and then a lot of people hit right here. I feel like I've gone here, up, there, down, and now it's just kind of a wiggly waggly in terms of like graphs. But I think the biggest thing that I've done is more diversification. Because when I first started, it was only YouTube, right? It was just YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. Then it was like, all right, well, we'll do some merch. Like, oh, then we'll do Twitch. And then it was more like Twitch and YouTube. And now it's just so many different things. And that's one thing that TB taught me was he was like, if you don't have at least 5 sources of income, you're doing it wrong. So I always remember that. And he's right, because if one thing falls, you have the others to fall back on. And even if it doesn't, then you have multiple things coming in. So I feel like in the online entertainment industry, you need many different sources of income.
So when you say that, so you have Twitch, YouTube, and merch. Are there other things that we may not know about, or, how do you so you took that to heart? What did you do about that advice?
Well, there's YouTube, then Twitch, then merch, then Patreon, brand deals. Let's see, podcasting. So that's 6 I can think of just right away. There's probably more, but there's like little things like Amazon Associates program, which doesn't make a lot, but you hit the point where it's like, hey, $50 is $50.
No doubt, no doubt. So you mentioned something. So you mentioned Patreon. I just had a discussion with Northern Lion. When did you decide to do that, and what's your take on that? Because I don't know a ton about Patreon, but especially from behind the curtains. What was your experience like with that?
Patreon, at first, it's one of those things where I knew there was going to be people like, here we go, begging for money. And you do get those people, but most people are, pretty cool about it, where it's just like, hey, here's a Patreon. If you want to sign up, you can sign up. If you don't, be like, get out of here, ass. And so like, all right, I will. But I started Patreon right after I had my gallbladder surgery because I had gallbladder bills. And so it helped with that. And now I've just kept it going. I'm like, I've literally posted on the Patreon being like, guys, all right, I made it 2 years ago. You don't have to give me money anymore. I barely update this thing. I'm very bad at Patreon. If you don't want to give me money, please don't. But people still are like, nah, I'll give you money. So I'm like, whatever.
Well,
So it's, I'm not. I feel like I'm not the worst at like promoting Patreon.
well, that's what my next question was going to be. What do you do to provide value to like the people on Patreon, or how have you found like cool ways to use it? You're just like, you know, but I think it's
I always have ideas. I think
yeah.
that's the problem. It's like everything. Like people have book ideas, movie ideas. I have like Patreon ideas, and I just never get around to doing them.
But I think what's cool is that you're honest with them. You're like, hey, look, like this is what you're going to get. Essentially, is nothing. So like,
yeah, it's like I said, my brand is nothing. So it's like I feel like people expect that anyway. But honesty is the biggest thing, right? You can lie to people, be like, guys, just hold on, the stuff's coming. But I'm like, listen, all right, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at doing what I do. So please just bear with me or leave. It's either one's fine. You don't have to give me $5. Right? It's whatever.
because that stuff you're expecting, it's never coming. So just don't that's
Yeah.
never
And
coming.
if it does, everyone's like, oh my God, there it is. Finally.
All right, so I'm gonna rewind in your career a little bit. So WoW was a very, you know, clearly it's probably what jump started everything for you. Did you have, did you see when that started to trail off before they redid everything? And I don't want to assume stuff trailed off, but I'm making the assumption.
It did.
So when that started to happen for you, like
Right.
can you tell us when that was, and then like what a video would be at, and then what it during the downtime what it dropped to?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing with YouTube is people ride like a game. So like I would ride World of Warcraft, then it starts slowing down. Well, WoW's a little different because it has like it's kind of the same thing where it has like up and down and up and down. Like even right now, we're in like an up, like Shadowlands. People are like Shadowlands shit. So I'm just like, yeah, I'll make Shadowlands stuff and people love it. But it's like once I hit a point of like, you know, I might not want to do WoW forever. I feel like you have to branch into like branding yourself. And so it's like, all right, well, I'll do Let's Plays, I'll do you know, other types of things. Like I started fishing with Crendor, which is where I just fish with people and interview them. Kind of like this, but I sit in World of Warcraft instead of on a webcam and just fish, and that's the whole thing. And I've done 50 of those, so I've just I've done my fair share of interviews with people, including the Northern Line.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I need to get you on.
Dude, I love do I get to come into WoW and fish as well, or is it just a one-sided
You
fish?
don't even have to. It's literally just me. And part of the reason for that is I don't want to edit in another viewpoint.
What?
It's just the screen is just my character in WoW fishing, and I don't even catch the fish. I don't even catch them because I have to like get rid of the UI to make it look good. So it's just me continuously casting.
Could I get in your keyframe and do the same thing so you don't need a new shot? But like,
Yeah.
what if I just want to stand next to you in game?
No, you can stand next to me in game and fish. There's plenty of people who've done that.
Okay,
That's fine.
Okay. So you said you went from WoW to you've done like Let's Plays. Do you remember doing your first Let's Play after WoW? What it was and how it went?
I don't actually. I think I just played just random game. I know one that I did was Facade. You remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
It was it's a game where you play as like a friend that walks into this couple's apartment, and it's supposed to be like this innovative next level type of game where they interact with you. So you would type things and you'd get different responses based on what you type. So you'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like that type of thing. But it was just a mess, but it was funny because you could like improv with him. So I'd be like, what the shit is this penguin statue, Bob? And he'd be like, whatever. Anyway, Stacy, I'm just so tired of the way you talk to me. And it'd be like that type of thing. And I'd be like, whatever. And just like throw it into the corner. That was a fun one. And I remember I made that. And about 4 months later, PewDiePie started getting popular. And he made a video on Facade. And then people came to my video and they were like, you copied PewDiePie. And I was like, guys, look at the date of the upload. That's all you have to do. Like, it showed me the lack of brain power that the vast majority of the internet had, that they couldn't even bother to click the video and look at the date. You don't have to do anything. Just look. Use your eyes. It's phenomenal.
So you started doing some Let's Plays like Facade. Do you remember any that were like either really, really good or really, really bad that was like memorable in that journey?
In that game specifically?
No,
or
in
like-
other games, like other games that.
Oh, Well, another thing I did was a WoW Let's Play. I kept with the WoW theme, but I was like, I'm gonna level a character to max level. That series I think is at 172 episodes and still going.
Really?
And well, part of the issue is I upload a WoW leveling once every like 5 months right now. But at some point, I might pick up Steam again.
What level are you at? You know?
Well, they're about to level squish. So I might actually be closer to max level now because they're about to do a big level squish. So it could make the series closer to the end than you think.
Okay. So while clearly, you know, it still finds ways to weave back in your content, but you have to be, I mean, it sounds like you've been consciously aware of like, hey, look, I don't want to necessarily do this forever. So what other things do you try? What other branches of games have you tried to experiment with?
I mean, I used to try and think about games to play. I used to have a series called Poorly Rated where I'd find really bad games and play them. That was fun. But now I literally just play whatever. Like I've hit that point where I just kind of play whatever I want. And Twitch also helps with that because I feel like on Twitch it's a much easier it's easier to play whatever you want because most people just watch whatever you're playing. Like some people only play one game. They kind of have the same issue where they're like, I'm a WoW streamer, I'm a League streamer, I'm a this streamer. But when you're a variety streamer, I think that means more of a personality streamer than anything. I think that's what variety means to me. And so it allows you to play things like Winnie the Pooh Home Run Derby, where let me tell you about Winnie the Pooh Home Run Derby. I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay, I've never heard of it, and I'm surprised it's a thing, but
So someone came in, one of my longtime viewers came in my chat, and I was getting ready to play.
I saw Madden there.
Yeah, I got Madden 04 here. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour.
Okay.
All right, I got my Nintendo Wii so I can play old GameCube games. All right, I was going to play that. And he was like, oh my God, I can't beat Winnie the Pooh Home Run Derby. And I was like, what the shit is that? And he was like, my friend bet me $100 that I couldn't beat it. And I was like, I mean, I'll play it. And he's like, I bet you $200 you can't beat it. And I was like, I'll beat it. So I started up. It's a Flash game. It's a shitty like 2010 Flash game.
Okay.
And you play as Winnie the Pooh, and you just hit home runs. It's a home run derby, but the pitchers vary from like Eeyore, who just throws like a changeup. Then you get to some elephant guy. Then you get to like Rabbit. Rabbit throws the like, like it breaks physics, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And then you get to Owl. Owl's pitch is the worst. Owl does the like zigzag pitch. And then Tigger has like a invisible pitch where it starts and then it vanishes. And then you get to Christopher Robin. And Christopher Robin is like Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson on steroids combined. And he can throw every pitch. And so you get like the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, then you get the Owl zigzag ball, then you get the changeup, and you have to hit 40 home runs on 50 pitches. And it took me, I think, 4.5 hours, but I finally beat Christopher Robin, and it was a great moment in my life.
Spoiler alerts, what happens at the end?
Nothing.
What do you mean nothing? He doesn't get like a honey pot or something?
You win the game. Nothing happens.
Is there
That's
a screen? It just says you win?
No. But the thing was, right, because this is what I feel like a lot of streamers would play this game and then they'd be like, you know, whatever, I got my money for playing, I move on. Like this is when you realize this is beyond streaming for me, right? Like I'm not in it for the money because so he was at Tigger and I beat Tigger, so he gave me 100. Then I played for 3 more hours and I couldn't do it. And he's like, you earned this other 100, you know, there you go. And I was like, oh, I'm not done. Right. And then I came back the next day, played it for another hour and a half. And then yesterday I came back and played it for another, I think I took like an hour. And I finally beat it because someone was like, Crendor, didn't you get paid already? And I was like, this is personal now. Right. Like I'm in this just to beat Christopher Robin. This is like a personal goal at this point. And I finally did it. And now I'm very happy with myself.
I think people are listening to this podcast that, you know, when I ask you what type of content you're about, I think the past, you know, just talking about Winnie the Pooh, I feel like that is a great snapshot into exactly what you do. So, because my initial question until you got into it, I'm like, who's going to sit there and watch that? But just you talking about it, I'm like, I'm in. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
And
I'm in. But I'm here. You know?
the best part too was I had the Nintendo Wii menu music playing in the background the entire time. And people be like, why is the Wii music going? I was like, well, I was gonna play it and then I didn't. But at the same time, I felt it was necessary. So every time I'd play it the next day, I just turned on the Wii again just to have the music there. And it's actually a really good fitting song to have in the background.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, with all this stuff going on, like even this, is this like planned at all, or is this just you? Like, there's got to be an element of savvy to you, because it's like you've been doing this for so long to know that just like, all right, Winnie the Pooh with the Wii music, like just stuff. Do you plan any of this zaniness, or
No.
it's just all off the cuff?
No, like maybe every once in a while I'll plan something, but like for the most part, I'm just swinging it, man. And I feel like for doing this, because I've done this for so long, it's almost like stand-up comedy at a point. Like when you first start, you're like, you gotta get used to the ropes, you gotta do it, but after a while, it's natural. You just hit that point where like I've done so many podcasts and so many shows and so many videos and everything. It's just you flip the switch and you're like, here I am. What's the deal with the car? Right?
So are you streaming today? Later.
Probably.
Okay, if you stream later today, take me, like, you beat Winnie the Pooh home run derby. What do you
Right.
like? How do you even begin to know what you're gonna play if it's just all like Crendor like?
Sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna play. Sometimes I just, you turn on the stream and I'm like, what do I feel like playing? I don't know. Maybe somebody recommends something. Today I'm probably gonna start the Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door, because I played Paper Mario 64 last year. And so now I'm gonna play the 1,000-Year Door, and everyone's like, Crendor, if you haven't played the 1,000-Year Door, you're missing out on a part of your life. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll play it. I've also had points where like I've streamed League of Legends for 3 months straight, and people are like, then I'll stop playing, and people are like, dude, finally I can watch you again. You stop playing League, and I'm like, yep. But like, I just play what I want to play. And I played League for 3 months straight because I had to hit plat, because I've played League for 10 years, and so I got to silver, and then I was gold for like years, and I was like, I'm gonna hit plat because I knew I could get there, and it took me 3 months of just wanting to tear my hair out, but I made it. And not even because of the game, just to the people. The people are what make you want to tear your hair out.
So when you decide to play League for 3 months, are you like, do you look at anything at all outside of that, like analytics or people saying, hey, I don't want to watch League of Legends? Or are you just like, I'm gonna beat Winnie the Pooh home run derby, I'm gonna plat League? Is that it? And you put the blinders on, or how do you operate?
Yeah. I'll be like, oh man, I'm getting less views because people don't want to watch this, but I keep playing it, so I don't care. Like that's like when I want to play something, I'm gonna play it. Because when you play something you don't want to play, people will know, right? It's like anything. Like if you take a guy that doesn't like baseball to a baseball game, he's probably not gonna be having a great time at the baseball game. Maybe eventually he'll be like, oh, this is kind of neat. But like that's the whole point. It's like you have to play what you have fun playing, because then people will have fun watching you play what you're playing.
Would you give that a, well, let me ask you this. If there's a young Crendor out there right now that just wants to do what you do you think that's viable for someone starting out? Because, or not?
No.
Why? I don't want to massage your answer, but I kind of massaged it just leading it. I was trying not to do that.
When I got into this, it was very easy to get into, right? Like back in I was a top 500 YouTuber. I am no longer a top 500 YouTuber, but when I got into it, you have to get into it at a point where it's like people think you're insane, right? You're like, I'm doing this thing on the internet, and people are like, that sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you play video games on the internet? Like, people say that already today, and people are making like millions doing this. But back in the day, they're just like, can you make money? And it's like, well, not yet. And they're just like, sure. Right? But the whole point is when you get into it so early on, and then there's so many things that you have to have happen, like, you have to network, and you have to, I had to make WoW videos at a point where nobody else was making WoW videos. Now it's like any game that comes out, people are like, make videos on it, like instantaneously. This is my big break, dude. This is my big break. And so I would even say YouTube's easier to get into than Twitch. I have no idea how people grow on Twitch. Like when I grew on Twitch, it was me being like, hey, YouTube audience, come watch me. And I was like, oh, there we go, 500 viewers. Neat. So I like people growing on Twitch just seems so difficult because when I always view things based on my own opinion, right? When I go to watch new people on a, like Twitch, for example, right? I'll be like, okay, go to Twitch. Let's see, who am I looking for? I don't know. I'll just watch somebody I watch already, right? Because when you watch somebody you already know, you know what you're getting. You know you're getting someone that has a good microphone. You know their personality, and you're just like, all right, neat. You know, like I can watch this for a bit and whatever. You don't want to watch new people because you're like, well, am I gonna? You have to exert energy to find new people to watch, and nobody wants to exert energy doing anything. They won't even exert energy to see if I uploaded a video before someone else did, right? So why are they going to take the time to find someone that has like a good microphone and all the qualities they're looking for when they already found that?
So let me put you on the spot. Who is the last person you followed on Twitch for the purpose of watching them, not for like networking or connecting, but like someone that you discovered that you enjoy watching? You know who that was and how long ago?
I would say the most genuine one is probably EXBC.
Okay, who's that and what do they do?
Before IRL existed, Twitch was trying to, like, you knew they were in the boardroom being like, how do we get more non-gamers on this platform? So they had the eating category. What was it? It was like eating or some shit.
Social
Something
eating?
with eating. Social eating,
Yeah.
that's what it was. And so I was like, this is my type of thing, right? Weird ass shit that makes no sense. So I was like, I'm gonna watch some social eating. And I found them, and they're just they're a Korean couple just eating food, and it's like popcorn, shrimp, and then they went and ate peaches, and then they went and ate something else. They would just walk around the street like looking for the next restaurant. And I was like, this is amazing. And then they would start dancing for sub. And I was like, I'm gonna subscribe. And now they get like 1,000 viewers every stream. Like they're huge. But every time it's I tune in, there's like, it's Crendor. And they're very excited because I've subbed for like 46 months in a row now. Like, I was one of their first ever subs. And I was like, I'm supporting this content because it's amazing. I love it. And so that was one of my genuine stream finds.
That's awesome. So speaking from genuine to not genuine, but just different. You mentioned one of the things that you did to kind of grow was network, and I feel like whenever, not when you say, but when people say that, it's got like a weird feel to it, right? You know, like there's, you know, some call it cringy or whatever. What's been your take on that, and in particular, like real examples of you doing that and it just kind of happening?
I'd say it's cringy because people make it cringy because people go into networking trying to like be a businessman when they're not. They're like if you go to, like, I've been to Twitch parties and shit, there's like business cards all over the floor because nobody wants your business card. Like, when's the last time you're like, let me look through my business cards so I can find one of the contacts I get? Like, nobody gives a shit, right? So unless you're providing something for that other person, they don't care. That's what it boils down to, right? Like whenever you collaborate with someone, it's gonna be like, all right, I'll edit your video and you write the video. Or like, if you're gonna go on the podcast, like, hey, I'll provide the wacky shenanigans and you be the straight edge guy, right? Like, there's always some form of like symbiotic relationship going on. If somebody contacts you and they're just like, hey, I'm a small streamer and I want to be on your stream because you're a big streamer, it's like, well, what's in it for me? Right? Like, I'm going to take the time out of my day to promote somebody for no reason at all. And people look at it from such a like one-sided point of view, and you have to look at it from a two-sided point of view. So networking, I think, just boils down to providing something for someone else. And in the end, that helps you grow in some way.
So it's different now, right? Because you've been around for so long, you know, a lot of people know who you are. But in like the early days, how did you approach people and provide, I guess, the value? Or what would you, because you're such a genuine guy, like I can't see you going up to them and be like, hey, let's do a video together. I'll provide the, the dry humor. Like, yeah. But like, what did you like say to people, or how did you,
Yeah, like back in the day, I'd say it would mainly be collaborating on WoW videos. So I'd be like, we can, a lot of it's like, you can voice in my video, or I'd voice in their video, right? So they have a character or something, and I'd be like I'd do like my Meatwad voice or something, or I'm like, oh, Meatwad, and so I'd do that for them. And then they'd be like, oh, neat. And then they'd do a voice in my video. And at the end, you put like a little link to their YouTube channel. Like, that was a really simple one. Then there'd be things like the Jesse Cox reaching out, being like, hey, do you want to edit my WoW video? And I was like, I don't think you get how bad I am at editing. And then he was like, don't care. And then after that, I became friends with him. And then I was like, yo, like, what if I went on the co-optional well, it was a TGS podcast. And so I reached out to TB. And then, after that, then you make friends with TB and Dodger. And then the more people you know in the industry, then the larger network you have, and the easier it is to just meet other people. So then you just naturally meet other people, right? Then you do a podcast, and they're like, "Oh, Mathis is on the show," and I'm like, "God, I hate that guy." And then it's just you meet more and more
He's
people.
joking.
You know
We love Mathis. For people that didn't pick up, we love Mathis.
My name is Mathis. I love Mathis.
Let me ask you about so when he asked you to edit the WoW videos, for you, like knowing. I'd say we're acquaintances. I'm getting to know you definitely a lot more through this. But when someone's like, hey, edit these videos for me, when that happened, were you like, no, I'm not doing this? Or, hey, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine your intentions were black hat by editing the video.
No, like I was still going to do it. But I was like, I don't know why he wants me to do it, but I'm going to do it. Right? Like, I wouldn't have chosen me, but he did. So, and it worked out in the long run. But like here's another good example, I think, is sometimes networking just works in mysterious ways, right? So this actually involves you. So about three years ago, Dan was like, guys, what if we start up a Madden league?
Yeah, I remember that.
And so he invited a few of us to a Madden Discord. And we were like, all right, we're going to play Madden. And then at the last minute, Dan was like, I can't play anymore. Sorry. And then it was
I don't know. That's not how it went. But okay, but you got the floor. You got the floor.
So we were like, well, do we want to do the Madden thing? And it was me, Rob, Sinvicta, and Bear Taffy. And then we were like, all right, whatever. Madden's not that great this year. And then I was like, guys, do you just want to like talk about football? And they were like, yeah. And then I was like, well, let's start a football podcast. And then we just started a football podcast called Three Guys Talk About Football, or Three Guys and a Bear Talk About Football. And now we've been doing that for 2 years. And that's all because you invited us to that Madden League thing. So you really started that podcast.
That was 3 years ago, huh? I remember it as, hey, let's play some football. Because I think I saw you guys doing some like chess league football, which I know you're going to be offended. It's Blood Bowl.
Yes.
And I love me. I'm like, I love the ideas of tournaments, of leagues. But then I don't know why it didn't get off the ground. Because did we not have the same platform? It wasn't a lack of interest. I can tell you that. Why didn't that happen?
I don't know.
Because that would be fun.
I just remember Sinvicta was like, typical Dan Gheesling. Here he goes again.
Wow, Sinvicta. Okay, well, you know what? I appreciate the intel. Because even when talking about that league now, I'm like, I'm still in the Discord. I still see the icon. I still send a message once every 9 months in the Discord. It still sounds like a lot of fun. And it's
on the show.
Yeah.
Came on our football show back in like Thanksgiving or something. You're like, I think the Lions got it this year, guys. You're like, that's great, Dan.
And you live in the Chicago area, but you root for the Packers, which I can't imagine.
Which it's kind of crazy because I'm a Bulls, Cubs, Blackhawks fan, but then I'm a Packers fan, which is because my dad was a Packers fan, and he tried to make me a White Sox fan as well, but it didn't work, thankfully.
And to divert really hard left, did you watch The Last Dance?
I did.
What did you think of it
so far? I love it,
dude. It's incredible. I
know. I remember my main memory of like the 90s Bulls was my grandpa would watch a lot of them. And then I remember being like, because I was only like 8 or 9 when they won the last one. I remember like 98 just being like, I was sitting in my bedroom and then there's like the Jordan last shot. And I was just like, yeah, Bulls, woo! Like I didn't care, but like it was still fun to watch. And then I really started getting into basketball right when they were rebuilding. So I had to watch the shitty ass Bulls of like the, like the 99 Bulls. Is awful.
They're still not very good either. I mean, they got a couple pieces.
Oh, they're not. They're firing their GM and everything, which is fantastic. Finally, it's like I'm the person where I'm like, I don't even have to watch this. Then I'll end up listening on the radio or watching it anyway, and I'm just like, I hate Egghead. That's Jim Boylan.
Okay.
And I just like they have decent pieces. They're just really bad at developing talent.
What
Really
happened?
bad
What
at
happened
it.
to Kraus? Why did he like? I mean, clearly we got to finish the documentary, but why? When did he
Right.
leave?
He left in. I think he left when John Paxson took over.
Oh.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, Paxson took over. I think it was like 2004. That was around 2004.
All right.
And I mean, Paxson had some decent draft picks. He had like Jimmy Butler. He had Derrick Rose. Well, they were going to take Derrick Rose, but that's not actually true. They had Michael Beasley there too, I think. And it
Yeah.
was like an actual debate where they're like, "Do you take Rose or Beasley?" And now you look back on it and you're like, "Well," but back then they didn't know.
All
I
right.
mean, he had Taj Gibson. There's some decent ones.
So to circle back from the Bulls back to use and networking. So
Right.
and in my head, I just saw the NFL logo or the Discord logo turn from Madden to NBA 2K, but that's a different story. 2K League. But so you have some opportunities when that happened. And like someone that's listening right now, because you're a really unique and authentic personality. Someone listening, a young Crendor right now that wants to network, what would you tell them?
I would say just for doing YouTube or Twitch or anything in general, you have to get into it because you want to do something that you want to do, right? That sounds really generic, but like you can't get in. It's the thing where just don't do it for money. You can do it for money, but you're going to burn yourself out to a point. Because I've seen it. I've seen people do this for money for years, and then you burn yourself out. And those people, you can just see the sadness in their eyes. You can turn on their YouTube thing or their stream, and they're like, "What's up, gamers? Welcome back to another." And you just pause the video and just look like straight into their eyes, and you can see the drugs, the pain, the suffering as they just continue to just and then turn the camera off and just do a line of coke. You know that's what they're doing.
so be in it for what you enjoy, but for you, what has allowed you to stay consistent, for 12 plus years or
Well, I'd say just that, right? I keep doing what I want to do. I remember I was listening to Bill Burr's podcast because I like Bill Burr.
Is he from
And,
SNL?
He's he's a comedian. He used to do
Goat
I don't know
Man?
what he used to do.
Is he Goat Man?
I don't know who Goat Man.
You don't know who Goat Man is? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, anyways, Bill Burr.
Yeah. So Bill Burr, he talked about how he loves being the person. He's mainly a stand-up comedian. I think you'd like him. So he talks about he loves being the person that's in the middle, right? He's not too like high up. He's not like the LeBron James or the Brett Favres or like that, but he's not like so low that he's like nobody knows who he is. He's like right in the middle. He's like, I can go on my friends' shows and then I'm like, well, see you later. And then I go back to doing my thing. He's like, I make enough money to get by. I don't have to live in like Beverly Hills, right? If he's just a normal guy doing what he enjoys doing. And that's that. And I always like that mentality where I'm like, I don't have to be some superstar. I don't have to be so low. In fact, I don't want to be that big. I get scared of being that big because it's like there's so much anxiety and stress and like all these people are like, I love this person. Like I don't want any of that. I just want a nice middle ground.
So for you, like we always talk about, or I talk about with Ryan a lot, what success looks like, and it's there's people hear success and they think of money, blah blah blah. But for you, it's specifically for your career and what you do, what does success look like to you?
I would say, well, success is kind of subjective because you can be successful in your own ways. Like somebody could be like, oh, I got the one job I wanted at a grocery store. I'm successful, right? Like it's just their own opinion.
And then the security guard comes over to you and says, "Hey, that internet's the future." All right, sorry, go ahead.
So I would say success to me is just doing what you want to do and being able to live off that in a comfortable manner, like not have to worry about bills that much or anything, and maybe sometimes you're like, oh, it's like, is money gonna be bad? But then it ends up working itself out. And I would say being able to do this for as long as I have as well, because I'd always hear people being like, oh, is that gonna be a safe job? Is that a 401k benefits? I'm like, the benefits is I can work in my sweatpants and do whatever I want. I heard like people like, oh, what day is it? I don't know. And I'm like, that's my normal life. I don't know what day it is. Now they're just living my life. And the only reason I did is because I go to the gym. Now the gym's closed. And it's the worst. I just want to go lift weights.
All right, so all memes aside, I'm trying to like push some of the like the funny Crendor away. Like, what is your
Right.
take on like the viability of like how long do you think you can do this
Oh,
and
I'll do it
live?
till I'm like 90.
But
90 something.
do you think you can sustain it and like kind of weave and ride the waves and alter and do that kind
Yeah.
of stuff? What do you?
I'd say after a while you become adaptable. Like you don't want to become like the blockbuster video, right? You want to constantly evolve. Like you can be the person who's like, no, I'll live and die on YouTube, and then YouTube dies, and you're like, I wish I would have got on the Twitch train, or like I wish I would have started a Patreon. Like you have to you gotta at least stick your foot in the water, right? You gotta like even if it's Patreon, be like, yeah, I'll try it, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you have to be able to adapt and kind of evolve with the times. And as long as you're able to do that, I think that makes it even more fun because it keeps everything interesting instead of like here we go YouTube again. Yeah, like TikTok. You got to evolve to TikTok. Maybe I will start TikTok, and I don't know.
I'll be if you start on TikTok, I will be your first follower 100%.
Yeah.
Did you learn that adaptability? Is it like from survival online, or like can you think of a time where like, oh hey, if I don't stop making, gold farming videos, which I know you probably if you made one, it was made in like jest or making fun of them, but you're like, hey,
Right.
if I don't stop doing these, I'm not gonna be able to do this anymore.
No, I would say I'm just that type of person. I'm just a curious type of person. I just like learning things. So I feel like by learning new platforms and new like ways of entertainment and all that, I think it's just fun. Like even just live streaming. Like when I got into live streaming, I was like, oh, this is a nice little side thing. So I'd like every Friday night I would do a live stream, and then before I knew it, I was like, oh wow, I'm streaming as much as I do YouTube, and then I was streaming more than I did YouTube, and then I was like, well, here we are.
So
So it's, just letting it you let everything flow, right? I feel like you don't want to force anything. You just gotta go with the flow.
okay. And speaking of go with the flow, do you have a Twitch schedule or a YouTube schedule where people can expect videos on this day, or is it just kind of like, hey,
Not
whenever
at
I
all.
want it? Really?
I have no schedule. But the closest thing I have to a schedule is I generally stream at night. So usually I would say my average time for going live is like 10 p.m. Central around there.
Okay.
But like sometimes I stream at 3, sometimes I stream at midnight, sometimes I don't stream, and everyone's like, "Where is he? I thought he was gonna stream." I'm like, I don't know. It's just that's just what it is.
I just when you were saying that, I envisioned, like under the fold on Twitch, it says everyone has their schedule. You have schedule and it just says at night. That's it. No
I
time
wish I
zone.
could do that. I opened that schedule thing once, and I was like, "All right, should I put 10 p.m.?" And I was like, it took like 10 seconds. I just closed it. I was like, "That's not worth it."
This has been. I've really enjoyed this conversation because I think, I think like we're inverted, right? Like I'm very like I schedule. Here's the time. But I think the cool
Right.
thing is anyone listening to this, they're like, there's a million ways to do it. There's non-content schedule at night, and but it's interesting for me because, it opens up my mind. Be like, dude, this has been amazing. Crendor's been able to bob and weave for 12 years. Essentially, I don't want to dumb it down, but without a plan. Like you just kind of
Right.
read situations and do it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I'd say I'd say like for example, um I used to try to have schedules, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna upload all these videos in a week. And I couldn't even get myself to the point of like, I'm gonna do this video on this day. I would list all the videos on my whiteboard that I had to do. And when I did one, I would just check it off. So I'd be like, I did that one on Tuesday, I did that one on Friday the next week. As long as I did it, that was all that mattered. And I did that for about a month. And then I was just like, I'm not doing this.
All right. So then, final question about that: how do you communicate that to your audience? Do you think your audience has been around so much that they know you're like a loot box? You don't.
Oh yeah. It's definitely at that point now. Everybody kind of knows it. Even like just everybody in my life knows it. It's just that's who I am. I just have a very like spontaneous memory. Or not memory, but mind, I guess.
Well, all right.
Because
What's the last thing you planned in advance of 24 hours?
I can't even remember. I hate planning because it gives me anxiety.
In
Because
what
when I
way?
plan something, it means that I have to do something. And so I don't even want to plan what I want to eat because when I want to eat, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna want to eat. Right? Like if I'm like, what am I gonna eat for dinner? I'm like, I don't know. Am I gonna be hungry tonight? Am I gonna want to eat salmon instead of chicken? Like, I don't know. And then when I get to that moment, I'm like, hey, I kind of want chicken. Then you make chicken. Right? So
But
I like that spontaneity.
on the flip side, though, we did plan this podcast.
That's true. Well, there's certain things you have to plan.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, like for example, tomorrow night we're gonna be streaming the NFL draft. Me, Victor, Rob.
Oh, sweet.
We're not streaming the actual like showing it, but we stream our reaction. So we have like the ESPN like draft thing up with like the page that shows who's been drafted, who's on the clock, whatever. And this is our 3rd year of doing it. And so and then we sit there, and then Rob's like, I wonder who the Jets will take. And then we're like, it's not gonna be anyone good, Rob. And he's like, it might be. And then they're like, the Jets have taken the kicker. And then he's like, oh shit. And then Sinvicta's like, here come the Bucks. But now Sinvicta's excited. He's got the New England Buccaneers now, so he's having it. But now the season will get canceled. So that's
who do you think the Lions are going to take?
I think they're going to trade it.
Really?
Yeah, I think they'll trade down. There's too many teams that want Tua.
What do you think's going to happen? Where's Burrow going to go?
He'll go 1.
You think
Burrow's
so?
Going to go 1.
You think so?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
No questions asked. 100%. How far will Tua drop?
He will go. I think he's going to go 3.
Really?
Someone's going to trade with the Lions, take him. It's going to be the Dolphins or the Chargers, and those are 2 teams that will definitely give up more than they should, because they're both not really going anywhere.
That's fair. That's fair. What's your take on Tampa Bay? Do you think say everything progresses, there's a season, maybe shortened or whatever? Do you think Tampa will take it, or who do you got taking it? With that, take off your cheese hat for a second.
Tampa Bay are the new Cleveland Browns. Last year, the Cleveland Browns, people were like, this team is the Super Bowl winner. And I think they're going to be better than the Browns were last year, but they're the hype team right now. Like, people forget, there's still Drew Brees in that division. Yeah. Right? There's still the Saints. There's still, like, a bunch of other good teams that can take them down. There's still injuries. There's still like, Tom Brady's getting older. Gronk hasn't played in a year, even though he's like, I'm stronger now. It's like, well, we don't know that. I mean, there's a whole bunch. Like, the Buccaneers' offensive line still sucks ass. Like, people forget about that. Like, their offensive line's garbage. They don't really have a running back. Although the Patriots never really had the great running.
What happened to Jameis Winston? Did they deal him? What happened to him?
He's gone.
Where did he go?
He's a free agent.
No one signed him?
No.
Did you hear the story? I was talking about this in Twitch chat. He got LASIK. Like, he got LASIK after the surgery. So he's been playing all these games with no glass, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah, nobody hates Jameis Winston more than Sinvicta.
Really?
Sinvicta hates Jameis Winston with a passion. That is like his least favorite person in the world.
He threw like 50-some touchdowns, didn't he? And 50-some
interceptions. Like 50 interceptions. For every touchdown he threw, he'd throw an interception. It was like Brett Favre on steroids. It was insane. Like, you would just constantly like pick sixes, and then just terrible decision making.
Well, it's because he couldn't see. Now he can see.
I feel like he's just trying to play it off like that. I feel like he could see.
Well, no, sometimes that you'd watch him on the bench and the sidelines, and he would like look at stuff like this, even in Florida State. But all right, that's all.
I mean, you'd think somebody would be like, "Hey, Jameis, why can't you throw well?" Like, I can't see. Like, oh, well, that's the problem.
Well, do you wear contacts?
No.
Do you wear glasses?
No.
Do you have LASIK?
No.
So how do you know you can see?
Because I can read things and see stuff.
How far away?
I don't look downfield and see like blobs of like orange and red and go like, I got to throw the red blob.
But if you didn't know, maybe that's all you're like, hey, I guess someone's just really good at throwing the blobs, the right blobs downfield.
I mean, I feel like somebody would ask at some point. Like that conversation would have to come up.
All right, so from blobs and non-schedules and non-content, as we wrap things up here, can you let people know what you're working on, where they can find you, where they can support you, where they can watch and listen to your non-content?
Man, there's a lot.
Yeah, hit us with it, please.
Well, it depends. If you want to watch my YouTube, youtube.com/Crendor. There's Twitch, twitch.tv/Crendor. There's twitter.com/Crendor, facebook.com/Crendor. Crensloth.com, buy my sweatpants. There's Cox and Crendor, COX, the letter N, Crendor. That's where I do my show with Jesse. There's Three Guys Talk About Football. That's with me, Robson, Vic, the Bear Taffy. There's Patreon, Crendor. I shouldn't even go to Patreon. And then
TikTok Crendor.
Something else. TikTok Crendor. I actually think I have a TikTok Crendor, but I've never done anything with it. I think I made it just to make it. I've never done anything.
It didn't hit me until you were citing off all your places. You sound like you could be one of the sons of the Chicago Bulls guys or Chicago Bears guys on SNL. You have the accent.
Oh, the meatball.
Yeah, but you just talk and you had the accent.
Well, I mean, I'm from Chicago, so I probably got a little bit.
Oh.
Well, the Coach Ditka. Let me tell you something about Ditka. Oh, Bears.
Dude, it's also because I listen to Chicago sports radio. All right. As a Packers fan, there's nothing more fun than putting on Bears radio and being like,
why couldn't we have taken Mahomes? We could have had Watson, could have had Mahomes. We take Trubisky, fire Ryan Pace, put him in the Chicago River, set him down. This guy's worse than Cutler. Honestly, I'll hang up and listen to your call.
All right, Crendor, from hanging up on Cutler. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was an eye-opening experience, from Winnie the Pooh home run derby to the mysterious.
Play it.
I will. I think there's a lot of things in this life that I'll play that you may have convinced me to do it.
Nice.
But for real, man, thank you so much for coming on. We will have all the links in the description below. Check out Crendor and his content, and then keep an eye out on TikTok for Crendor's first TikTok post.
Thank you very much, and I'll have you on my fishing.
As long as I should know this, but I don't. Are you Alliance or Horde?
I'm primarily Horde. I have both.
Okay. Can we go to dwarven fishing? That's kind of my jam.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can dwarven fish.
I'm in 1,000 million %. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And good luck at the stream sometime at night.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll need it.
All right. See you, Crendor.
See ya.